Well, does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Taiji.
Thank you, Richard. You've actually said something very profound to me. It's not so much, the practice is not so much as getting something, but you said it's about things leaving. Okay?
I apologize. Are you directing this at me?
Yes.
Things what?
Richard.
I'm going to have to ask you. My hearing is shot now, and I'm just too damn cheap to buy.
Okay.
So speak up a little bit more, or if you can, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, maybe Sunim can answer that as well. You basically said the practice is not so much as the getting something, but it's leaving. You know, it's things leaving from us, and I think to me that was very profound. You know, I think it sort of related to that.
I'll tell you.
You know, the key to, you've been practicing for a long time. I've been practicing for a few years now, and I haven't really counted how many years, but what is the key to longevity and managing our own expectations about our own practice? Sometimes we say, oh, we're not doing enough. Sometimes we're doing too much, you know, but what is the key to managing that longevity and your expectations?
So what is the key to longevity? Is it not practicing, only practicing a little bit, or practicing too much? And what is the key to that?
What are you trying to unlock? I'm not sure what you.
Well, I just had a simple question.
So basically, he's saying that what you said, you did a great talk, and the key to longevity and stuff like that, you already mentioned about how you just keep with it and practicing. And
Longevity not necessarily as our own, like a biological life, but longevity to our practice. Because I've seen some people come and go, right? I mean, they've been practicing for a long time, and suddenly they stop, right? I mean, I've had occasions where I almost wanted to quit, but
I've done that.
Here I am, right?
There's a time I walked away from it. There was a period of time, years, where I didn't do any practice at all. So I think don't beat yourself for if it benefits you, it'll eventually come back. You can't, once this practice is part of you, you can leave it for some time, not take it up, but it's going to come back. It's just, I don't know what to say about that. And I hope I'm getting closer to answering your question, but, setting a regimen when you first practice is good, forcing yourself to do it every day, but or however much you want to do it, but sometimes people find that they can't keep up with it for whatever reason. They start beating themselves up, and it's just, I just don't think it's a good idea don't try and control the practice. We're thinking, like, you get frustrated when you're sitting and you can't control your thinking, or your mind wanders here and there. It's like, just roll with it. It's just, and I think that's in doing the practice too. There's going to be sometimes you just don't feel like practicing. Fine, don't practice, but it'll come back to you. And again, I hope I'm answering the question. You think
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I think so.
There was the first part of that question. What was that? The beginning, the very beginning.
Oh, no, I just made a comment basically saying that was kind of a very inspirational for me to hear that, sometimes when you first just practice, we have this expectation of, oh, we're going to get something out of this, right? We all do. But you've said, oh, it's not so much as you practice, it's not so much you're getting something, but it's, you sort of observe that things leaving.
Isn't that
your anger, your pettiness, whatever you want to call it, but you can see the things leave.
I personally think that getting rid of anger is probably one of the biggest things you can do. Anger can come from just minor irritation all the way up to a spectrum of violent rage, physical. But I just personally think that's one of the, just stay away from that stuff. You get irritated by somebody or somebody pisses you off, it's not worth getting mad.
So basically, Richard, thank you for saying
Oh,
that.
sure.
So
Thank
that really summarized, my own thought as well.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
That was well. That was good. Yeah, that was an important point that he mentioned about the practice is about often what happens. I won't say that it's about anything in particular, but as you practice, things just kind of fall away. And that's one of the important things of practicing is that I get so many people come in and talk about how they, when you got something, some kind of trauma come up, and then it goes away, you try to follow it. And that's one of the worst things that you can do, from what I could tell, is trying to follow up with something like some feeling or something. What was that feeling? What was that? That was very uncomfortable. In what part of my life did that hook up with? And That is one of the worst things you could do, because you're going to find that that energy and stuff kind of appears, and this energy has to do with feelings of one sort or another, but it isn't yet formed. Why give it some kind of formation? That's a good thing. It didn't form into anything. Actually, this energy that appears later on, you could use it for like washing dishes, talking to your friend. That's the purity of the Zen practice. Is it just takes this this energy that you have of say anger or happiness or this or that, and just neutralizes it and lets it fall back. You don't have to know where it came from. But later on, as you go through life and as you're talking with your friends and so forth and so on, you notice maybe you don't get angry so fast, or that you're able to put things down quicker, or that sort of thing. So I like to find about that. Diego, I don't want to be a bug, but you got no water or nothing up here. I'm going to get dry in a minute. I can feel my lips. Just water is good, yeah. And so, yeah, there's always this quality. I guess, please, you're going to ask a question? Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Richard. That was great. And so the word practice, I guess I've been practicing for a long time, but when I think about it, when I would just hear what you're saying, so there's a sitting practice, there's a standing practice, there's a walking practice, there's mantras, there's non-mantras, there's keeping the eyes glazed, there's keeping the eyes closed, there's you hear of so many different practices, and I guess, I just would want to get an understanding of, is there truly a right practice or a wrong practice?
No.
Thank you.
Bluntly, the answer is no, because let's just say there are 9 billion people on the planet. There's 9 billion practices. So that's just like that. And anybody that does a practice, there's no two practices that are the same. Thank you. But I think what's important is that you talk about in terms of a form. So yesterday we had a group come in, and they were Soto Zen. Okay? Soto Zen, they have a certain style in a certain form. And then you have Renzai Zen, and they have a certain style in a certain form. You have Korean Zen, and that has a certain style in a certain form. Now, for me, when I started practicing, I actually started off with the book, The 3 Pillars of Zen. And I was quite inspired by that book. And that book has to do with Renzai Zen. And I really loved that book, I tell you. So I loved it so much. And then, you know, there's Chinese Zen and insight meditation. I was looking at all of these practices, but I really fell in love with the Renzai Zen. And so I practiced at home and so forth. And when I finally came to here, to practice here at the, in Cambridge Zen Center, it was, my head was full of Renzai Zen. And so I can show you how forms kind of, you can get screwed up when you're playing with one form and you go into another school. It doesn't work. So all of these practices, these Buddhist practices, the Koreans and Japanese and Chinese and each one of them have a bone to it. Each one of them works. And if you take any one of them and you invest time in it, you're going to get something from it. Now, take that with a grain of salt. Don't say, oh, what do I get? No, we don't want to say that. But you will get something from it. You'll get something from that practice. Now, what happens when you mix them is that you become, like I say, a jack of all trades. You can go to parties and talk about it and stuff, but you're not going to get much from it. And so one of the things is, like they said in Renzai Zen, they have a thing where they sit 7 days a week. And they do their best sitting is in the winter time. And then around that, during the rest of the time in the temple, the Renzai temple in Japan, they do work, you know, farming and stuff like that. I knew folks that was doing that, and they'd be write me and tell me what was going on. So that's how they do their practice. They do their best practice is like is that they do work, and then once a month they do a 7-day sesshin, and that's how they do that. Renzai Zen, Korean Zen, is we do two 90-day retreats a year, one in the summer, the hottest part of the summer, and one in the winter, the worst part of the winter, when it's, you know, February and all that kind of a thing. And so here I am with my Renzai Zen coming to the Kwan School of Zen. So it doesn't really translate to sit there. And so the Renzai style is that you sit and you know, and I've had Renzai practitioners come to Korea, and and there have been Korean in our school would go to Japan because there were some famous teachers over there at the time that they would go and they would do the Renzai practice. So in Renzai practice, it's really cold. They don't heat the building in the wintertime. You have nothing on your feet and nothing on your head, and you sit in a room up on like a platform, let's say about half the size of this one here in the back, and there's a man in the room and has a stick, and he's gonna whack you if you move, or for whatever reason he can go over there and give you a good whack, and you don't ask for it or tell him not. You can, so that's how that is, and they do that basically with the strong practitioners and with the males. I don't think they like to hit women like that. 'Cause I know a woman who came there who did the Renzai, but they weren't treating her that way. But and so that's how it is, and so and they do that for 7 days, and then they go about their business. But could you imagine? And so when you sit there, you sit there and you sit there in pain, and you don't move. And so our style is that when we sit, if we have a lot of pain, we could move, we could use a different position. And I imagine also in the Japanese style, you could use a different position. But what they're saying is that when you get in one position, you stay there. So so there's 2 points that I would make about that, is that you could imagine what it'd be like if you would decided that you were going to sit the painful style at the Quantum School of Zen, and for the 90-day retreat. That's ridiculous. And would you know, there's some knuckleheads that try to do that. And so, yeah, it doesn't work, I can tell you. And then, But and the Renzai Zen, that style, what people say, oh, that's kind of crazy, that doesn't work, yeah. But then we have people from our school, I know, especially some of the Polish practitioners, left Korea and went and sat with the Renzai teachers over in Japan. And I know that in some cases that if you are practicing with the monks and nuns, they're just some people, when they sit, and they come in, they sit into the Dharma, they're out like a light. And I don't care how much sleep they had the night before, they're sleeping when they sit. And you bet, look at one else name's over there smiling, because he probably seen a funeral of them too. And so what happens though, is that if a person is like that, but they really, really do want to practice, all they have to do is then they can try this Renzai Zen, okay? Because you can imagine that if you sleep like that, right? But yet you go to this place and the place is not heated, you got nothing on your feet, nothing on your head. There's a man in the room who just whacked a couple people, and you're sitting like that. Do you think you're going to fall asleep? Probably not. And so, yeah, there were, I don't want to mention names, but there was a particular monk that went over there and did that. And he came back so clear. And he went back over again, too, more than once. And so that's kind of how it is. And so then you mentioned about practice. So further about practice is that word practice is very important, because that's just what we do. This is a practice. So just imagine if you're going to the Olympics, right? So in the Olympics, you're trying to say for running, just do it running. How about the high jumping with this stick? And so, you have a way of training for that, okay? But I bet you your teammate who also is training for that is doing, maybe using some other kinds of practices that more benefit him. Okay, so some other kinds of exercises that work a certain way, and this one is exercise. So if you're here at the Quantum School of Zen and you're practicing, after a few years, you're going to find that somebody does something slightly different, or you're going to do something slightly different than the rest of the group does. And all of us do. And so that's why when you hear a lot of the Zen masters like Wan Po and Bodhidharma and Namchan, all of these kind of Zen masters, when they're speaking to the group, they very seldom speak about technique, okay? Because they already assume that you've got your technique down, and so they don't even bother with that. And there's no, you ask if there's a right or wrong technique, there's no right or wrong technique, So that's important. So one technique that works for somebody else won't work for another person. So that's what's all I find very important about practicing is that the style, for instance, what I did is I read and learned about Theravada practice, the Chinese practices, the Tibetan practices, Japanese, and I never knew anything about Korean practice until I stumbled into it, because there were no books out there. But I met Zen Master Seung Sahn. That was the big thing about here. But I learned about all of these practices, and I settled upon actually the Renzai Zen as the one that was my favorite. But even then, I had to leave that. Once I came to the Quantum School of Zen, I had to leave that and do this practice. So yeah, that word practice is important. And so practice is in the sense of techniques. You've got to get your techniques together. And so the techniques that we use here at the Quantum School of Zen go with our style of practice, and our teachers and stuff here know about when you breathe in, clear mind, breathe out, don't know, breathe in, clear mind, breathe out, don't know, or breathe in, clear mind, and breathe out, count. And then about mantras, gate, parasangate, bodhiswaha. And then, so we know about these styles. So then if you come in, and they have people come in, and there's a practice where they, Southeast Asia do, where they have their attention on the tip of their nose. And I thought that was, I thought that was kind of silly, but there's a lot of people in Southeast Asia that practice with their attention at the tip of their nose. It's a kind of amazing thing to me. And then, of course, there's the insight meditation that follows the feelings of where they first come from, with the feelings where they come from, or the thoughts about what led to that thought. And so you follow that thought before that one, and the thought before that one, and when you do that, where do you wind up? Right here, and so all of us do wind up in those places. So what I'm saying is that if you find a practice that you like, or that you want to try a different practice, do that different practice completely and wholly. But if you're doing it like, and you're bringing, yeah, I heard somebody do that to me actually. That came, this Chinese teacher, he said that you should, yeah. And after I was in the Korean temple in Korea, and this is what they're saying to me. So I said, why don't you go over there to the Chinese practicing people and do that? Because they're not wrong. You know, I couldn't say that they was wrong. It's that they have their style and we have our style. And if you follow the style, then you'll get something with it. But if you sit here and argue about it, I mean, come on. It gets a little bit strange. And so, yeah, yesterday they had, and I was even, I've been around Soto practitioners, and I think it's the second time in which we had a group of Soto practitioners coming here and practicing it. And yeah, it was a little different for me. So we had this one koan that we were working with, and it's the case 19 in the Muman Kwan, and that we were all supposed to talk about. And was anybody here yesterday that's here today? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So, and I want to maybe just read that one case. And it's called, What is the True Way? And so Joju once asked Zen Master Namchon, what is the true way? Namchon replied, everyday mind is the true way. Then should I try to keep it or not? Namchon said, if you try to keep it, you are already mistaken. If I do not try to keep it, how can I understand the true way? Namchon replied, the true way is not dependent on understanding or not understanding. Understanding is an illusion, not understanding is blankness. If you completely attain the true way of not thinking, it is like space, clear and void. So why do you make right and wrong? Joju heard that and got enlightenment. And what did Joju attain? Well, that's the question and the comment. So then it was four of us teachers sitting there back there, and we had to make comments on that. And that is kind of like where I was thrown a little bit about it, because the way that they spoke about it was they were very respectful of Nam Chan and his life and a kind of Zen master that he was, and spoke of that. And Jose also understood that style, but I didn't understand that style so much. For me, it was that there's this koan, kind of a thing, and what is the true way, and you kind of answer that and move on. Jojo's a great Zen master, of course, but you answer that and move on. So they all spoke and about Jojo's life and that kind of thing like that, and I didn't do that. Instead, I just kind of like looked for the answer for that koan, which is what is the true way. I don't even want to say it because it doesn't make a difference about that. But that's kind of like how I did that. But I would point out, just for the sake of conversation and kill more time, is that when I went to with the way that I was taught with the Soto Zen style, is that they do bring up a koan and they talk about it, but they talk about it, the whole room does. So yesterday we had the four teachers, and the four teachers spoke about it, but the way that I did it before was that we went around the whole room and everybody spoke about the koan. And so that was kind of how I thought that it was going to be more in that style. But that actually, what it is that's a different school than the one that I had spoke of before. And the school that I spoke of before is the one that wrote the Hidden Lamp. Anybody know that book, The Hidden Lamp? Yeah, it's about this Soto Zen woman actually went around and got a lot of Zen women, and each one of them to discuss a koan. And they wrote a book about it. So it's all women practitioners. Some of them are Zen masters and some of them are Zen teachers, not yet, And Nancy Hedgepath is in that one. We have the book there inside the Dharma, inside the store, if you would like to take a peek at it. And so that style is what they came and kind of like it openly, we all talked about the same koan. And it was interesting. If I had the book, I would be able to show you which of the koan it was, but that's kind of like how that style went. And Dave, I thought you was trying to ask a question. Oh.
So it's here. So it's intensive week up at Kilche, where you're waking up at midnight after a couple hours of sleep to do some extra practice, then heading back to bed. Richard was speaking a little bit about the importance of, just doing practice, and it's okay if we fall off, and it's okay if we come back. Could you speak a little bit about the role of doing intensive practice in our style, and would you recommend that to someone who's not a monastic?
I would recommend it, but I'd recommend it, but that what is the most important way of practicing is the way that Richard mentioned, is that you have a consistency to it. Okay, so if you have a consistent practice, say that you're practicing 20 minutes every day, say 5 days a week, maybe on the weekends you don't, but Monday through Friday, every day for 20 minutes you're up and practicing. So then a good way to give your practice depth is then once a month to do some more, what I would say, which is all relative, hard training, which means that you would then come to the Zen Center and sit for 1 day or sit for 2 days. And then when you go home, you go right back to this 20 minutes. It's important you go back, because don't go home and say, oh, I got it, I'm not going to. We don't want to do that. So you go back home, and then you go back home on Sunday. We did a 2-day sitting here. And on Sunday, you go back home, and when you get up Monday, you go right back to the 20-minute sitting. I think that's good. Now then you have, having said that, there's this other style of practice of what we're doing up at the monastery now, which is intense, which is get up at midnight and practice from 12 until 2. I can tell you that in Korea, they practice from, they take 1 week of practice, and what they call it is, no laying down for 1 week, for 7. There's no way you're not going to sleep for 7 days. You're going to fall asleep. It's going to happen. So they say no lying down, and so that's what they do. They stay up for 7 days out of those for that week. And then on the Heijays, when they do that, they do it for 3 weeks style, and it's very intense. And so you'll get like 50 people, and that lay people do it also, but I know of the monks and the nuns, and so 50 monks will go to a place, and they'll do this 3 weeks of what they call not lying down. And so they do that and what'll happen is that if you fall asleep and you don't show up for one of the sittings, they take your mat, and then you got to go home. And so that might happen to they'll happen to about like 20 of them, at least 20 people won't make it through. And so then, remember I told you about the sleeping monk that you went to. So one of the things about when you do that kind of intense practice, and a person who sleeps religiously, if he tries to do a not lying down practice. And of course, he's sleeping all the time. It's really amazing. There's something at some point, boom, you get a really clear mind. And it's a funny thing that you just hit that. And so that's kind of like the reason I see as for some of that. For me, we were up here, and I remember my first time doing the midnight practice, and it was you know, I was young and, well, youngish, 30 something or other, and so my first night they woke us up, boom, at 12 o'clock. I was so angry. I said, these people, they're retarded. There's something, we should have a riot or something around. Throw the pillows about or something, I don't know. But this wasn't correct. And so then we went back to bed, and I get up the next day, and boom, my mind, I've never had that kind of clarity. It was just poof, nothing was there. It was just no thinking whatsoever. It was like a mirror. And most amazing thing. So that's the kind of thing that happened. But I don't get that. I mean, that does sometimes appear once in a while when I'm practicing. But sometimes what happens is that you get like a real picture of this clear mind, and you can in your regular practice move in that direction. Just move in that direction. Lord forbid you should try to get that again. If you try to get that again, then that's what we call a Zen sickness. But the purpose of that intense training is, from what I could tell, is to hit that point, so you're in Massachusetts, and for one moment you get a good view of what it's like to be in Florida. You're not in Florida, but you get a good picture about how it is to be in Florida, and then boom, you're right back in Massachusetts, and it's the wintertime. And so you have a good idea of what that's like, and you can head in that direction. But Lord forbid if you should try to make everything about that nice weather. Then that's what becomes a Zen sickness. And I can attest to that because I've done that before. I've had some pleasant experience, and then after that, probably for a good 10 years, it was, I got to have everything just the way it should be, and nobody should be making any noise, and and always somebody would make a noise, and always I'd get angry, and I went through that for like 10 years. That is not a good way to be. So you don't want to attach to really hard practice, but if you can do hard practice, right, and let it go, it's a good thing. Okay. So they have it also I mentioned many times, the Samchon Bay, which is 3,000 bows. You bow all night long, okay? That's a great practice, but don't hold on to it. But it really gives you a good view of your intuitive mind, your before thinking mind. And if you have a question, you can ask yourself, should I do this or that, right? And let your intuitive mind answer it, not your thinking mind. Let your intuitive mind answer. And poof, the answer will just kind of appear like that. And also, when you're doing intensive practice like that, you're usually with the group. And that's always a good thing, to be with the group and practicing hard. So, that answer your question? Okay, thank you. I'm all set, yes.
Okay. So, thank you all for coming and joining us today for our Dharma talk. Just a couple of announcements to go ahead and wind us down. As always, we have a retreat at least once or twice a month, and we just completed our joint retreat yesterday with the White Plum lineage in the Not Broken Broom, Full Moon Zen group was the name of the group. Our next upcoming retreats are going to be a 2-day with Kwan Haeng Sunim JDPS, as well as a keto with Nancy Hedgepath JDPS as well. You'll find the details and times on our flyers near the entrance, which I have forgotten to bring with me, as you can see. So please take a look at that. And as Kwan Haeng Sunim attested to, one of the best things you can do for your regular practice is once a month come do a little bit of an intensive practice with a group of people who can support you in that as well. So please come join us for retreats when you can. Practice is always free. Electricity and streaming is not. So if you'd like to help support us, we do very gratefully accept donations. You can do so online at providencezen.org, or you can leave a donation at the box near the entrance. Anything you can give is appreciated and helps to keep this place open and our teaching and our practice flowing for everyone who comes through these doors. Finally, we do also rely on our volunteers to help maintain the Zen Center. So if you'd like to give back to the Zen Center, please consider signing up to become one of our volunteers. There is a form at the entrance. Currently, we are specifically asking for people to assist in our Wednesday night dinners and to volunteer every now and then to come and prepare dinner for the Sangha. So if that's of interest to you, and if you'd like to learn some culinary and cooking techniques, please come. Consider doing that. It's a great way to give back. Finally, I've been asked to take a picture of the group for our social media, so I'm going to grab my phone and do that. If you don't want to be in the picture, please step away now. Hey everyone, act like Zen students. Oh, perfect, we did it. And the online people too. Okay. And the gift store is also open. So thank you all so much again, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all for your practice. Take good care. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the Providence Zen Center live stream. We're live most Sundays, 10:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to join our Zoom meeting, find the link on our website at providencezen.org. Or catch the live stream on YouTube and Facebook. Next week, we've got Nancy Brown Hedgepeth Judo Sunim. She's practiced with the Kwan Haeng School since 1979, received inka in 1994. She's lived at and worked for a number of Zen centers and has set long retreats in the U.S. and South Korea. A retired nurse, she lives in Waterville, Maine. Further out, we've got Rebecca Ott from Kansas, Diane Eagles from Cambridge Zen Center, and Zen Master Seung Sahn from California. But that's all for today. We'll be back again soon from all of us here at Providence Zen Center. Have a pleasant Sunday.
Right. Just the electric is going to take a little bit longer. But we're on it. Just right now we're going to hit the roof.
Right, exactly.
How is that quiet like up there? You only have 2 hours of sleep. You get back to 2 more hours and you get up and get this. So your brain is just a little kind of a news.
The short one, right.
What's going on?
Yeah, I've never experimented with sleep deprivation, but it sounds like an experience.
Every time it's a whole different concept.
Right. Yeah. So let's just take this for now. That'd be great. I'm going to be we're going to put all of this. Okay. So we can leave it as is. I'll come in at 14 minutes or 2.
So we got, Nancy and then those three other.
Yeah.
You have already have 2 or 3 other ones.
3 hours.
I'm trying to, like the live stream, like Jason Quinn, he does the online Sangha.
Yeah.
He said, why don't you just so we don't really, I can't really do anything more than that. It's too busy.
Right.
I gotta run no way I could do